There is a piece of silicon inside your pocket right now. It is smaller than a fingernail. It contains more transistors than there are stars in the Milky Way. It is the most precisely engineered object that human beings have ever manufactured at scale. And there is only one place on Earth that can build it. A small island in the Pacific Ocean, roughly the size of Maryland. 23 million people. A democracy that almost no country officially recognizes as a country. This island produces 92% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. The chips inside your phone, inside your laptop, inside the artificial intelligence that is rewriting every industry on the planet. Inside the fighter jets the United States flies. Inside the missiles it launches. All of it, manufactured in one place. China claims this island. The United States has built its entire Pacific defense strategy around protecting it. If China takes it, the global economy collapses within days. This is Taiwan, and right now, it is the most dangerous place on Earth. To understand why Taiwan matters, you have to understand what it makes. Inside every device that defines modern life, your smartphone, your laptop, your car, the data centers running ChatGPT, the satellites orbiting the planet, there is a small piece of silicon called a logic chip. Logic chips are the brain of the modern world. The most advanced of these chips are measured in nanometers, smaller than a virus, smaller than a strand of DNA. They are manufactured in a process so complex that it requires factories costing more than $20 billion to build, taking 5 years to construct, employing thousands of engineers with skills that exist almost nowhere else. Almost all of these factories are in Taiwan. A single company, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, known as TSMC, produces over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. By the start of 2026, TSMC's 3-nanometer chips alone made up a quarter of all its revenue. 5-nanometer chips, another 36%. 7-nanometer chips, another 13%. Together, over 70% of TSMC's entire output is the most advanced silicon being manufactured anywhere on Earth. These chips are not just important, they are irreplaceable. The United States cannot make them at scale. China cannot make them at scale. South Korea cannot match the volume. Europe cannot make them at all. Every artificial intelligence system being built today, every advanced fighter jet being delivered to NATO allies, every flagship phone sold by Apple, Samsung, or Google runs on chips designed in America but manufactured on this island. The most powerful country in the world has outsourced the production of its most important strategic resource to a place its rival has vowed to take. It took 70 years to build this dependency. Nobody has figured out how to break it. China's claim on Taiwan is older than the People's Republic of China itself. When the Chinese Civil War ended in 1949, the losing side, the Republic of China, fled across the strait to Taiwan. The winning side, led by Mao Zedong, established the People's Republic on the mainland. For 75 years, both governments have technically claimed to be the legitimate government of all China. In practice, they have ruled separate territories with separate systems. For Beijing, the existence of a free, democratic, prosperous Chinese society sitting 100 miles off its coast is more than a political problem. It is an existential one. Because if 23 million Chinese-speaking people can govern themselves freely, vote in genuine elections, criticize their leaders without going to prison, hold a free press, then the entire justification for one-party rule on the mainland begins to crack. Taiwan is not just territory China wants. Taiwan is the proof the Chinese Communist Party does not want the world to see. Xi Jinping has made reunification with Taiwan a central pillar of what he calls China's national rejuvenation. The Chinese government has stated this rejuvenation must be complete by 2049, the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. That is the deadline, 23 years from now. But the methods are no longer hypothetical. The Pentagon now projects that China will field 9 aircraft carriers by 2035. Its nuclear warhead arsenal, already in the low 600s, is expected to exceed 1,000 by 2030. China is building the largest navy in the world. It is building amphibious assault ships. It is building bridging systems specifically designed to land soldiers on hostile beaches. The military buildup is not theoretical. It is happening right now. For years, American defense officials warned that China was preparing to invade Taiwan by 2027. In March 2026, that picture changed. The U.S. intelligence community released its annual threat assessment. Its conclusion: China does not currently plan to execute a Taiwan invasion in 2027. Chinese leaders do not have a fixed timeline for unification at all. Beijing prefers to achieve what it calls reunification without using force. It recognizes that an amphibious assault would be extremely difficult and would carry a high risk of failure, especially if the United States intervenes. But the absence of a fixed invasion date does not mean the threat has gone away. It means the threat has become something different, something harder to see, something harder to defend against. Strategists have begun preparing for a scenario most observers had not seriously considered before. Not an invasion, not a war, a blockade. In this scenario, China would not send troops across the Taiwan Strait. It would simply require all flights and ships entering or leaving Taiwan to pass through Chinese customs inspection. It would station naval vessels around the island. It would slowly, methodically choke Taiwan's connection to the outside world without firing a single shot. A successful blockade would not just isolate Taiwan diplomatically. It would shut down TSMC's ability to import the chemicals and equipment needed to manufacture chips. It would prevent the export of those chips to the rest of the world. It would create, within weeks, a global semiconductor shortage that would crash the entire technology industry. And the international community would face an impossible choice. To break the blockade militarily would risk World War III. To accept it would mean watching the global economy collapse in slow motion. This is the new shape of the Taiwan crisis, not an invasion that may come, a pressure that is already building. Imagine for a moment that tomorrow morning, for any reason, the chips stop coming out of Taiwan. A blockade, a military strike, a natural disaster, an earthquake. It does not matter why. Within 24 hours, the global technology industry begins to panic. Apple cannot produce iPhones. Nvidia cannot produce graphics cards. Tesla cannot produce cars. Every flagship product designed in America stops being manufactured. Within 1 week, slowdowns spread across the global economy. Automakers halt production lines. Data centers postpone expansions. The artificial intelligence industry, which depends almost entirely on TSMC-manufactured NVIDIA chips, begins running out of capacity. Within 1 month, the global stock market loses trillions of dollars. The world's most valuable technology companies, Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, Meta, all of which depend on Taiwanese production, see their share prices collapse together. Within 6 months, the modern world begins to look meaningfully different. Smartphones become scarce. New cars become unavailable. The race for artificial intelligence supremacy, into which the United States has poured trillions of dollars, comes to a halt. This is not speculation. This is the consensus assessment of every major economic institution that has modeled what a Taiwan disruption would do to the world. A Bloomberg analysis estimated the global cost of a Taiwan war at $10 trillion. That is roughly 10% of global GDP. For comparison, the entire 2008 financial crisis cost the world around $2 trillion. A Taiwan crisis would be 5 times worse than the worst economic catastrophe of the past 50 years. And there is no plan B. No backup factory, no second supplier, no alternative. The world's most advanced economy has built itself on a foundation 100 miles from its greatest rival, and nobody has figured out how to move it. This is the part of the story that almost nobody talks about. The United States has been trying to build its own advanced chip manufacturing capacity for years. In 2022, it passed the CHIPS and Science Act, pledging $52 billion to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to American soil. TSMC itself agreed to build factories in Arizona. It has not worked the way Washington hoped. The Arizona facilities have faced delays, construction problems, labor shortages. A simple, brutal truth. The level of expertise required to manufacture 3-nanometer chips at scale does not exist outside of Taiwan in meaningful quantity. Building a leading-edge semiconductor fabrication plant, what the industry calls a fab, is one of the most complex industrial undertakings on Earth. A single fab costs over $20 billion. It takes 5 years to build. It requires thousands of highly trained engineers. It requires an entire ecosystem of suppliers, chemical companies, equipment manufacturers, software developers that took decades to grow up around the existing Taiwanese factories. You cannot copy that ecosystem in 5 years. You cannot copy it in 10. The United States may eventually replicate some of Taiwan's capacity. South Korea may close some of the gap. Japan, China, and Europe are all investing billions to catch up. But for the next decade, at minimum, the world's most advanced chips will be manufactured on an island that one of the world's most powerful nations claims as its own. That is not a problem that can be engineered away. That is a problem that has to be lived with. There is a temptation to look at the Taiwan situation and think, that is far away. That is somebody else's problem. It is not. If you are watching this video on a phone, that phone runs on a chip made in Taiwan. If you are watching on a laptop, same. If you have used artificial intelligence in the past week, every prompt you typed was processed on a Taiwanese chip. If you drove a car this morning, that car contains over 1,000 chips, and a meaningful percentage of the most advanced ones came from this single island. The economic interdependence is not a future problem. It is the present. If Taiwan is blockaded, the price of every electronic device you own goes up. The price of every car, the cost of every cloud service, the cost of every artificial intelligence application, which is now embedded in medicine, law, education, finance, increases dramatically. The technology that has driven global productivity for the past 50 years simply stops advancing. And it is not just consumer goods. The American military is now deeply dependent on Taiwanese production. The fighter jets being delivered to American forces, the targeting systems on American missiles, the artificial intelligence being built into next-generation weapons platforms. If Taiwan falls, or even if Taiwan is just isolated long enough, the United States loses access to the very components that make its military the most advanced on Earth. This is not a regional crisis. This is the central economic and security challenge of the next decade. For every country in the world that has built its economy on modern technology, which is every developed country in the world. For 75 years, the world has lived with an unspoken arrangement. China would claim Taiwan, but never quite take it. The United States would defend Taiwan, but never quite say so out loud. Taiwan would govern itself, but never quite declare independence. And the global economy would build itself on top of this fragile peace, quietly, profitably, dangerously. That arrangement is now under more pressure than at any point in the past 75 years. Not because anyone has decided to break it, but because the forces holding it in place are weakening, slowly, steadily, and from multiple directions at once. China's military is the strongest it has ever been. America's commitment to Taiwan is more uncertain than it has been in a generation. Taiwan's neighbors, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, are rearming for the first time in decades. And the technology Taiwan produces is more critical to the world economy than any single resource has ever been to any single moment in human history. Nobody, not Washington, not Beijing, not Taipei, knows how this ends. What comes next will shape the global economy for the rest of this century. The next World War, if it happens, will not be fought over oil. It will not be fought over land. It will be fought over a small island in the Pacific and the silicon inside it.